Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's call. We are going to do the pre-release product review for the new Transamerica Express Solutions. And the release date is set for Tuesday, the 17th. As we're doing this training would be tomorrow, actually at 1 o'clock in the middle of the afternoon, they're going to release this. So let's just jump right into it. And I do want to point out three things. This is important. Those of you who have had past experiences using the Ultra Protector series final expense product for telesales, well, there's a few differences. There's going to be some big differences, actually. Number one, you're going to know if the client is approved as applied for basically at the beginning of the application. Right? It's not the way it used to be with Ultra Protector. So these guys have designed this thing for telesales. Number two, the signature process does start at the beginning also, where you send out the original signature. And here's what's interesting. At that point, once they sign, they approve, the background check, the HIPAA authorization, etc. You're going to know if the client is going to be approved as applied for. Well, I should say with what you're going to apply them for or not. And here's something very interesting. They're going to offer you a maximum amount of insurance, not you. They're going to offer your client a maximum amount of insurance. So they're going to say, boom, Joe client is capable of receiving up to, and then it'll give you. Then the maximum on this product is 50,000. This is important, guys. We're going to talk about it because they're giving you a chance to upsell, which, a lot of us, we don't really do it that way. That's not the system that we teach at United Final Expense Services. We want to make sure that we find an amount of insurance the client can afford. But one of the reasons that they're doing that is because, and I'm going to talk about this later, is because once your client is approved and your client has the policy, you cannot sell them a second policy. If they're approved for $50,000 and you sell them a $5,000 policy, there's no adding to that. There's no second policy. Transamerica is not allowing that due to their concerns with fraud, which is also part of the reason that they're doing the signature the way that they're doing it, which I'm going to address here real soon. Number three, they're going to give you a higher comp. Not only are they going to give you a higher comp on this product as compared to Ultra Protector, but they're going to advance on approval. That's different. With Ultra Protector, they didn't advance you money until the first draft went through. And of course, that was kind of a fail because they would go ahead and do the first draft, then they would pay the agent. And then, and this happens, they're not the only carrier that does this. And then days later, you find out there was an insufficient fund. So at least with this, you're getting paid on approval, period. Very cool. Now, I'm going to get rid of the elephant. We're going to knock the elephant out of the room and get the big con out of the way, because due to the concerns, security, etc., fraud, there is one signature process, and it is a text signature with a 3-step process, which is going to be one of the longer signature processes that we use. So unfortunately, that is probably the negative, which at the end of the day, here's what that means. 1 out of 3 of your clients, and this is my opinion, will not be able to do the signature. We get older, we have health issues. It's harder for us to do these electronic signatures. That right there is going to be it. And because of the steps of the signature, the client actually, they receive the text, they're going to click on the link, they're going to create a username, which is their email address. They're going to put that in, and they're going to create a pretty intense, I think it's 10 or 11 digits password, a pretty comprehensive one. We'll put it that. So you're going to help them do that. And then once they've done that, they're getting another email where they're going to have to log in and identify themselves, which means they're going to have to show 2 important things. They're going to have to share the last 4 of their social and their date of birth. And then they'll officially be logged in and will be able to complete the signature process, which at that point, I think it's just a click. I think it's pretty easy at that point. So now that's out of the way, let's move along. Here's what's interesting about this product. I want to give you a few underwriting scenarios, and then we're going to talk about all the health conditions that your clients can be approved about. Here's an underwriting scenario: 75, male, COPD, diabetic neuropathy, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's disease, and according to Transamerica, approved day one coverage. Now, let me be clear about this product, guys. This isn't one of those, like, it's not designed to be like this preferred rate, ultra preferred rate product. This is a standardized rate product, which means basically the cost for the client, the prices are going to be down the middle. I did a little research. I think it's actually priced a little bit better than the standard rates for the Ultra Protector product. Look at this guy. I mean, this guy's a knockout with most carriers. And if they're going to approve him, man, this is kind of cool, right? Here's another one. 60-year-old male, diabetic neuropathy, lupus, emphysema, boom, day one coverage. Emphysema is a chronic breathing disease, guys. This takes daily treatment. Another one. 65, male, congestive heart failure. It's going to be graded, right? Parkinson's disease. Oh, yeah, this is graded. Depression, got to be graded. Crohn's disease, not fun. Day one coverage. Bam. And our gal is 75, congestive heart failure, hepatitis B, so not on dialysis. Boom, day one coverage. There you go, guys. So there's a few underwriting examples. I wanted to get that out of the way. Now let's jump right into one thing I've always loved about Transamerica is the fact that they do have these nice conventions. They're generally 3-4 night type of conventions, and a lot of times they're in the US. Yeah, it's too late for this one. If you're not writing their products and not already on target to qualify for this convention, all right, that's fine. But the reason I wanted to show you this slide is for the simple fact that, guess what? They do conventions. To me, that's always something that's kind of cool when you're putting business with a carrier and they say, hey, we want to invite you to come hang out with us. Now, let's get into this product. I'm going to try to not drag this out for those of you who are getting ready to get on the phone this morning. So the only prepaid debit card that they're going to accept is Direct Express. They're going to accept a regular credit card. They're going to accept a debit card connected to a checking account. Now, to me, if your client gives you a debit card connected to a checking account, you're not going to take it anyways. You're going to get the checking account number, right? That's what a professional does. So just keep in mind, at the end of the day, they're not going to take Chime. They're not going to take GoToBank, NetSpend, Green Dot, any of those refillable cards that you get at the drugstore or at grocery store, so etc. Now, over this page on the right, a couple of things I just want to point out that's pretty cool. Issue age, 18 to 85. Now, that's for this Express solution, which is first day coverage, and then you've got the graded product too. Right? So 18 to 85, I love that. Minimum $5,000 and maximum $50,000. Okay, this is age pending. And let me bring out a negative. We talked about taking the debit cards for forms of payment. The negative one thing is most carriers do have a little policy fee. So keep that in mind, guys. That's on you. You're paying for the policy fee. And so they do have the $42 policy fee. That's fair. Most carriers do it. Not everybody does it. And Austin pointed out, yes, Austin, thank you, that Direct Express cards start with the numbers 5332. So that they've programmed this. They know if you're giving a refillable card, they know what the different companies' cards start with. So if you try to stick a Chime in there, it's not going to work. Thank you for that, Austin. Very cool. Now, let's talk about the underwriting. Okay, so what can we get? What type of medical conditions and health conditions can we potentially get first day coverage with the Express Solutions Select? We got a laundry list here, right? Heart disease, COPD, atrial fibrillation, angina. And this is current. This isn't, well, so let me bring something up. So with Ultra Protector, one of their niches was angina. If the client had angina for more than 12 months, they've been treated for it for more, as long as they've been treated for it for more than 12 months, you could give them standard rates, right? If they had been treated for the angina for more than 2 years, 24 months, you could give them preferred rates. So with this product, the way it reads is if they just got treated for angina last week, you can potentially still give them first day coverage. Congestive heart failure, pretty huge. Diabetic neuropathy. It's a nice laundry list. Lupus, MS, Parkinson's disease. So medical marijuana. Look, guys, let's talk about this marijuana deal real quick. What a lot of you don't realize, and this is something that I figured out years ago, was there's a stigma with a lot of these seniors, especially the folks that are older, let's say in their 70s, potentially older, especially with them for the simple fact of just 20 years ago, if you were smoking marijuana, you were a pothead. They may have referred to you, your client may have referred to you as, a drug addict. So there is that stigma. Why am I talking about the stigma? Because what you don't realize is you'll do your underwriting, and this is one of those things where sometimes they're a little embarrassed to tell you about, and then they don't tell you about it. And then you go to apply to a carrier that does not like it, which is most carriers. Most carriers, even though it's medical purposes, even though it's a prescription, when they see that prescription, boom, it's a knockout. They don't want nothing to do with it. It's just too recent. So I like the idea that they don't ask about it. If your client has the stigma and they're embarrassed to tell you about that, and guys, we see this a lot with schizophrenia. I put that right next to it, and other, mental health conditions. They're embarrassed. They're embarrassed to tell us about that. So they don't. And the next thing you know, boom, you go to apply to the wrong carrier and they're embarrassed. They didn't tell you about the prescription for the pot or the schizophrenia. And the next thing you know, they're declined. And you're thinking, hey, I did my job. I don't understand. What is wrong with this company? A lot of times that's what we do, right? We don't think it's us. We don't think it's the underwriting. We don't think it's the client. We assume it's the company. And well, the simple fact is it's the stigma. PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and hepatitis B and C. Oh, interesting. Now, I don't know how far they're going to go with the hepatitis C. I really don't know how they're going to view the people on dialysis. But from the understanding that I have on the research that I did, they will potentially give people who are on dialysis, and I'm sure not all of them. Remember, it's a combination of the health conditions too, but potentially give them first day coverage and even heart attacks. So a lot of time, whoa, you have a heart attack in the past 12 months. A lot of companies, it's a knockout or graded. So with this product, the way it reads in the agent guide is that heart attack, you can still get first aid coverage. Again, this all depends on other medications they're taking, other conditions, right? We talked a little bit about those combinations because it's interesting how they are looking at some of the combination health conditions and saying, no problem, we're going to let it go, as to where before they wouldn't. So again, guys, this is a pre-release review. This is not based on my experience. This is based on what we're getting out of Transamerica. They've been testing the product for months. They've been doing trials on it. They've been selling it. We're going on based on the information that they're giving us at this point. Now, here's what I will tell you. Later on, we will do another review once we start writing it, once we find out more information. Hey, guys, it's a new product. It's being released. There's going to be some bumps in the road. We expect that. Here's something that's interesting. The customized coverage approval. Now, I touched on this earlier. At approval, which is at the beginning, towards the beginning of the application, they're going to notify the client of how much insurance that they can potentially get. And I need to repeat this because it's important. This is very, very important. Why? Because once the client gets the insurance, there's no second policy. Even if this client is super healthy and they can get $50,000 of insurance and they only get a $20,000 policy, there's no selling them a second policy. There's no increasing the insurance. Now, so a lot of you are thinking, well, if it's recent, then, we help the client cancel the policy so they can get another one with a higher face. Here's the problem with that. We don't truly know how Transamerica's underwriting will react to that for one simple reason. My experience, and I'm not saying this is with Transamerica, with other carriers for sure, is that I would write a policy, client would call me back 6 months, a year later, and I would ask them, I'd pull out their even face to face, we'd pull out the medication, nothing's changed, the health is the same. You go to reapply for the second policy and they're offered something else other than what the original policy was approved as. So that would be the only concern with canceling and rewriting. So again, this is why they're giving you this maximum amount up front so that you can be transparent with your client and let them know, look, you can get up to $50,000. I know you and I talked about this $10,000 policy. Just so you know, you won't be able to add to this policy later. Now, of course, depending on the agent, you can say, look, we've got other carriers, but I'm just letting you know up front right now, we won't be able to add to this policy. And so why is that important? Because if they're getting approved for something like first aid coverage for congestive heart failure, they may realize later that they should have had more. That's most likely what's going to happen. So just keep that in mind, guys. How you sell, how you do it, it's all up to you. But it's interesting the way they do offer this early in the application process. A few quick pros and cons. This is just some more information about the product that I wanted to throw at you. Instead of doing a huge, long presentation, I want to go right to the beef. Let's go right to the meat and the potatoes. Client needs to have a valid email address. One thing I will say, and this is important, guys, some of the stuff we're talking about here, they are very concerned about fraud. So no, you can't create an email address for your client. You cannot do that. So keep that in mind. They must have a valid email address. Let's put it this way. They will know if you create an email address for your client. Okay, they will know. Again, e-signature only. There is no voice signature. It's one process and it's a 3-step approval. So whatever you do, do not attempt to sell your client a policy without at least testing it on yourself. Really, common sense is you want to take a new product like this. It'll insure people from 18 to 75. So pretty much everybody on this call can actually write themselves, write yourself, sell it to yourself through your CRM and use your smartphone so that you can describe step by step exactly to the client what they're going to see. Now, the nice thing about Transamerica, what they did, and this is important, guys, pay attention, is they are giving you access to training on the application, a training video / webinar, and it's pretty good. I saw it. It's going to walk you through the whole application process, including the signature. And they do have an actual brochure that shows you step by step with photos of what the client's going to see when they go to do the signature. So at least you have this. Honestly, it would still be a mistake not to do the application on yourself before you do it live on a client. Now, some of you guys are just super pros. All right. I get it. Some of you guys can do that, but I know I won't do that. If I'm going to sell this to a client, I want to see what they're going to see first so that I can definitely walk them through it. I want to see what kind of errors happen, right? Going to be bumps in the road. I want to be prepared. The owner and the payer must be the insured. I know there's other companies that do this. Now, keep in mind, this is when you do the application. Once it's approved, you can change this. In other words, once the client gets the policy, you do the change form. You need to change the owner, the payer, you change it. Easy enough. No replacements in this list of states. So that's the one thing. I'm not sure what that's about, but you can't check the replacement box if you're selling to anybody in any of these states. And again, Direct Express is the only prepaid card they're going to accept. Guys, one of the reasons, let me just put this out there, is because with Chime, GoToBank, NetSpend, a lot of these cards, the clients actually get paid a few days earlier than the day that they would normally receive their Social Security benefits. And that's why they get that money. If you can't balance a checking account and you have to use a refillable GoToBank card, then chances are you are going to take all the money off the card. And when they go to draft the payment for the insurance, it won't be there. So to me, that's why the persistence and placement is horrible on those other cards. So to me, it makes sense. I think Transamerica did this right. I really feel like they got this right. They're getting rid of a lot of the bad business right at the beginning. And again, you can't have more than one policy. That's it. That's the rule, guys. It's how it is. No contingent beneficiary during the application. Well, that is different. Guys, they're working on this. They say they're going to fix it. Again, once the policy is issued, you can add the change of beneficiary form and bam. Now you can add in any contingent beneficiaries, any secondary beneficiaries. All right. And this is one last thing, guys. Final thing. With this policy comes the Everest CPR, Concierge Planning Rider. Sounds familiar, right? Those of you who love to talk about Sequoia for SBLI and GTL, it's very similar. It's nice that Transamerica is adding more value on top of the value. I didn't talk about the riders. There's a couple of other things I didn't touch on, but there are other riders that come with. When you do your research on the product, I would say you can find that out. To me, this is just this is that extra value selling point. I think a lot of people, knowing that someone is going to be there to help their family through the whole funeral process is pretty assuring. It's very nice. Keep that in mind. Everest, Google them, check it out. That's what I did. I Googled Everest, Transamerica, Concierge Planning Rider, and Transamerica has a page on it, on their website about it, a couple actually, and so does Everest with Transamerica. So you'll get a lot of information on this, but it's pretty nice that, you know, at the end of the day, your clients' families don't have to go through this by themselves. They're going to get everything from access to different funeral homes, discounts, etc. They're gonna help them even do like the healthcare directive, power of attorney, and other legal documents. So it's pretty nice to have this in the bag. Good job, Transamerica. I love that you did this. All right, guys, that's it. I hope everybody has a killer week. And with that being said, happy hunting.